Welcome traders, back to the channel. Steve here. This morning it's currently it's 17th of January. It's a Friday. It's the AM session for me, the Asian session. We're just going to have a look at some of the overnight potential setups of big figure trades. So it can be a little bit annoying when you get up in the morning and you check your charts before you do too much, and you see some of these figures or big figures come off and you go like, damn, missed it. But once you're fully awake and back into that trading zone, when you start breaking down and analysing those charts as to why you wouldn't have taken them, then it makes sense. So we're going to look at those in a moment. These are good big figure setups that worked pretty well. There's three of them, but we're going to explain why at the time, at least previously before going to bed, why I chose not to set an alarm for them or take a trade, and why revisiting them the next day I still have that same view. So first up we have the Aussie New Zealand. Again, not a highly volatile pair, so usually what that means from a big figure point of view, it's really going to blast through. But this is what I saw coming into the session with 5-minute charts, so there's enough data here to work off. We had a fairly nice build up, then we started doing a sideways move, and then here was the concern. I was thinking 1093, we're only 7 or 8 pips away from the big figure. Then we had price popped up. If I was to take this prior to the news, it would have just had to keep going in one straight line. That would have given us the potential to do something. But we had the news, so we had a spike down here. This is retail sales, and then we made our way up to the big figure, popped through a bit, came back to this 1093 again, found that support there, and then broke down quite quickly. So a few things here to consider. Obviously we had this channel at 1085 and 1093. There just wasn't enough room to work with. So meaning, what if price pops up as it did, comes back down, we're only 6 or 7 pips up, and then what if it carries on and starts trading above the big figure? Now it can do that at any time, but obviously, however, we only have a small range, so to get enough out for P1 at profit 1 level just wasn't enough, so we let that one go. The New Zealand Swiss, firstly the opposite type of thing. Again, coming down here, we form a base, we have a channel, we come a bit deeper. This would have been the news right here, so already on the news we're pretty well on the big figure, so that in itself probably wasn't a real good thing to actually take a trade anyway. If it had to come maybe from 51.10 or 15, that would have been more appropriate, but in and around that news time, right on the big figure, I mean it's at least a 50-50 bet the price could just keep going without you. Sure, it can go all the way up, but we have to protect the capital. So this one, similar reason, not enough outside of the time of when the news release was, just not enough really to work with here. So again, that one was let go, but it does show you that the big figure definitely has, it's just not a random event. These things just show themselves over and over again. And this was a bit interesting. The CAD associated pairs traded a little bit differently in the session, but this was quite nice when we had, so it's the pound CAD, so we see price push from one big figure, or well below the big figure. This is quite a volatile pair, by the way. It's got a fairly big dealing range, so we push up into the big figure. But what I would have liked about this, and I do like about it, is the fact we've broken out, we've tagged back, we've picked up the liquidity, so this is pretty solid for the upside. Then we push high, but then we've left a void here, so that's good so far for a sell later on. Then we push up and we make another run up. We can see this is quite a long candle, then we get a shorter candle again. So this is starting to dry up and consolidate. So these are voids here, so I'm thinking at some point this will come back, but for a big figure trade, not ideal. It pushed up into the 76.12 level, came back to 85, so definitely would have had enough here to at least take out some profit and bring the stop in. So perhaps worst case a break-even trade, but you know, it's how you would have managed it. But again, you can see how the price is playing in around this big figure level. constantly. So there were a few other trades as well, or pairs that did work, but I already disqualified them before even looking at them even deeper, because maybe they'd already hit the big figure earlier in the session, and I prefer not to take that twice in the session if we can avoid it. So so interesting evening. The best trade from yesterday was obviously the Aussie USD. That was just a classic type of setup. If we see those all day long, it'd be fantastic, but they're not always that good. So thanks for joining in, and we'll get back to you with more big figure updates as they come to hand.